Hey everybody, welcome back to the Debsterism channel. This is Deborrah Cooper, advice columnist and author. You can find my advice writings on survivingdating.com, here on youtube.com Debsterism channel, and on my original blog askheartbeat.com. So what I wanted to do is close out 2017 with one last video. I know I've been kind of sparse on the videos lately. Those of you familiar with what's been going on in my family know what I've been trying to deal with, and I want to thank you all for your kind words and support. I really appreciate it. You know, I haven't really met most of you, but you come through just like a family and a friend, and I really, really, really appreciate the kindness that you've demonstrated to me. I've also had to deal with the flu. So I'm telling you, I've just been getting my butt kicked lately. But, you know, onward and upward, we're looking forward to a better 2018. And so here we go. So I'm going to close out this year with some answers to some advice questions that have come in to the YouTube channel or submitted to me on Facebook or on the blog via email. And these are four questions that are somewhat related. I mean, they all kind of touch on a similar theme, so I thought it'd be good to group them together. These questions are also extremely common. I think that the responses will help a lot of people, so that's one reason why I chose them. They have a broad appeal. So let's start with this first one that has to deal with trust. The young lady writes, I have some issues with trusting a man for his word. I've been lied to and cheated on. I'm sure we've all experienced this. So over time, I've become independent. I've raised my kids as a single mom and just strictly been a go-getter. Well, here it is. I want a man I can trust with my mind, body, and soul and let him lead. But I'm having a tough time believing that he is a man of his word. So how can I overcome this? Okay. There's a lot to unpack here, but let me begin by saying there's no reason for you to overcome this. You don't overcome this by yourself. What makes you overcome not trusting a man is for him to prove himself to be trustworthy. The onus is on him, not on you. So you are right to be suspicious. You are right to be doubtful. You are right to do everything that you can to protect yourself, your money, your household, and the sanctity, emotional, mental, and physical sanctity of your children. Okay? You cannot just let any old jackleg fool into your life and into your home based on his say-so that you can trust him. He needs to prove it. How does he prove that? By being consistent over time. Now, if you have some question about that, I did a whole video on the importance of consistency that you can review. I will link it at the top of this video. But consistency is how a man proves that what he's saying and what he's doing are in sync. And that is how a woman develops trust. So if he says he's going to do something and then he doesn't do it, you're right not to trust him because he's just proven himself to not be worthy of that trust. If he says he's going to be somewhere and he doesn't show up or he shows up late, if he says he's going to provide you support or assistance and then he half steps or he just abandons you altogether, you are right not to trust him. And I suggest if you have a man who does you like that, get rid of him. Don't give him chances 4, 5, 10, and 15. He gets one. Okay, and then if he fucks up, then he just fucks up, and that's the way that it is. But I really, of course you become Miss Independent because, as I explained in another video called True Force Independence, these things have to be done. Okay, children need to be fed. They need a roof over their head. You need food in your stomach. You need a car to drive and clothes on your back to wear to work. You need auto insurance. You need the lights on. These are things that are mandatory. If you do not have a partner to help make those things happen, you are forced to do them by yourself. No problem. That's what adults do. But you can't just think that you're going to have a man and just drop that ball in his lap. Now, see, this is the other part of this whole thing. You want to be able to trust him. And I know as a single mom, a lot of women, they get tired. And so they look for somebody to help share that burden. And a lot of guys, they will step up and they do it, but it's not appropriate to go out looking for a man for that purpose. His purpose is to be there for you, and to provide you with emotional support, love, affection, romance, whatever else you're needing on a personal level, and everything else that comes with that is gravy. Now let's talk about this leading thing right quick. What are you, 5? What are you, your dog on a leash? What do you need somebody to lead you for? You're perfectly capable of leading yourself, and do not approach a man with that mentality. That mentality, I don't know where that shit comes from, but it just drives me crazy. It just irks my soul. And I really wish black women would stop saying that. It's not a matter of letting a man lead. If you have to step aside and let him do anything, then that means he's not qualified, because a person who is a leader steps to the front naturally by leading. You see what I mean? People fall in line behind them because their shit is so together. They're so out front. They're making stuff happen. They are a mover and a shaker. They are decisive. They are assertive. They make things happen. And so no one has to stop their role to let them get in front. This person naturally assumes a leadership role because they are so on tit that they move to the front on their own. So that is a concept I think a lot of sisters just are confused about. You don't let a man lead. Okay, he does that on his own, or he does not. A lot of men really aren't interested in being a leader. They want, they don't care about all of that. They want a nice partnership, or they would be happy to, let you take the reins. They don't really care. They just want a comfortable, calm relationship. So, I caution you with this mentality that you need to let a man lead. Please get rid of that. Look for a man who's going to augment your life, who's going to bring something pleasurable to your life, put a smile on your face, make you happy. And if that comes along, and then you test him and he does prove himself to be trustworthy, then there you go. That's the answer to your solution. That's the solution rather to your question. God, I'm stumbling with my words today. Okay. If you have any questions, I'm sure I'm kind of glossing over stuff because I have a lot. I have 3 more questions to cover. Feel free to post a follow-up question down below, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Now let's move on to question number 2. And this is kind of tied to this one. Demetria writes, I keep seeing black men and women say that a woman must let a man be a man. I'm unclear about what I'm supposed to be doing to make that happen, and no one seems to be able to explain it to me, so I'm asking you. Oh, well, thank you. What does it mean to let a man be a man? Can you give me specific examples of how women let a man be a man? Also, how do we stop him from being a man? Oh, this is a great question, because this is another question. This is another statement that people make that irks my soul. Let a man be a man. Okay, let me start from the bottom. How do you stop a man from being a man? You don't really stop him from being a man, but what a lot of women do, because they have had problems like Angel in the first question, where men have fallen flat on their faces and been proven themselves to be untrustworthy, undependable, not able to carry through the things that they say they're going to do. They're ill-equipped, or they just are faking the funk. A lot of women have become so disappointed in men that they will do too much. And by that I mean, if you have a man who says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to fix that, I'm going to whatever, they already don't trust him. So they kind of undermine his efforts with criticism, with hovering, with correcting like he's a child, and are you sure, did you do this, well, what about blah, so they're like anxious, they're expressing their anxiety and their fear of him not coming through for them in that way. And I get it, I understand the root of it. But what I'm saying is, if you have decided to give him a chance to prove himself, then you need to sit your ass down and let him do it. Either he's going to succeed or he's going to fail. But you hovering and correcting and are you sure? Are you sure? Well, what about this? Can I get you that? Do you need this? Okay, you need to stop that. He's not a 4-year-old. Okay, it's a grown man here. So let him do it. Either he's going to succeed, like I said, or he's going to fall flat on his face. But either way, step back, put your hands up in the air, and see what happens. Okay, you got to have that much trust. If he, you might have a plan B, which a lot of women do, and if he falls short, then you execute plan B so that everything in your household is still rolling smoothly. But that doesn't mean that he has to know about plan B, and it doesn't mean that you hover over him, worrying about it, or even tell him about plan B. All right. So that's one thing that I've noticed that a lot of women do, and it makes the men feel ineffectual. It doesn't stop him from being a man, because the guys who are insistent on doing whatever it is they said they're going to do, or being whatever they said they're going to be, will tell her, you need to sit down and be quiet and let me do this, because you're getting on my nerves right now, and we're about to have, we're going to have a big problem if you don't leave me alone. Okay, so they check her, respectfully, politely, but they tell her to go sit her butt down somewhere and let him do his thing. Now, the other dudes will just be quiet and they'll seethe internally, but they won't speak up. They won't say anything. Those are the ones who vent online, feeling emasculated and all this old stuff. But, no woman can make you feel like that. You make yourself feel like that. She might act in a certain way that you find irritating, but it's up to you to tell her that she's irritating you and to sit her behind down somewhere. Okay. Now let's move on to the second part of her question. She says, can you give me specific examples of how women let a man be a man? I think one of the classic examples is when a man loves you and cares about you, he wants to kind of take care of you. This is a foreign concept to a lot of black women who grew up without their fathers and who were involved early on in relationships with men who were basically predators, and they wanted to use them for sex and whatever else, but they really weren't there for the women in a way that demonstrated love, affection, caring, support, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you have a relationship with a guy who wants to provide you with that kind of support, that kind of have your back feeling, and is something that you're not used to, you're going to really struggle with releasing the reins to let him help you. And I've seen this so many times. And that's where the guys say, well, she's too independent. Of course you can do all this stuff by yourself. Of course you're very skilled at it. You've been doing it all your life or whatever. But if he wants to do it for you, then you need to let him do it. Okay. I mean, it might be something as simple as he wants to, I don't know, help out, and, he want to do the laundry or something. Now, he may not do the laundry the way that you do the laundry, but that's irrelevant. Sit down and let him do the laundry. The clothes will get cleaned, the clothes will get folded. They might not look exactly the way that you do. He might not use the fabric softener or whatever, all the special stuff you do, but your clothes are washed and you didn't have to do it. You see what I mean? You got to kind of balance this out. If he wants to get you, tells you to get dressed up and everything, and he gets a babysitter and he wants to take you out, don't hover and question and doubt and, well, I don't know, that might not be the right babysitter, blah, 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 all this other stuff. Go. I mean, he should know you well enough to know he got to call your sister or your auntie or your mother or somebody to watch the kids. I mean, the man's just wasn't born yesterday. He knows what to do. Just let him do it. So those are some examples, letting him position himself to do things for you without criticizing, without complaining, without questioning or doubting it. Just let him do his thing. Okay, and that's important to men. That thing about feeling needed, I know it sounds really cliche, but when you really think about it, how many ways does a man have to show in our modern society that he can take care of his woman? You know, you working just like him. You have a AAA card. You don't need him to come and change your flats and to do your battery and all this other stuff. But if he wants to, what's wrong with letting him? You see what I mean? And that, I think, is part of this "let a man be a man" thing. Although I hate that phrase, I understand what they're getting at. Now, does that mean in your household that he has ultimate say so and he runs around like a tyrant, you know, bossing everybody around and telling everybody what to do because I'm the man? No, that does not mean that at all. You know, in your relationship, you must be partners. Everybody in that household depends upon the both of you, not just one of you. So, you know, you guys have to work that out on how that's going to really play out. But to me, let a man be a man means let him position himself to take care of you when the opportunities arise. That is all that means. Anything else about his ego, you know, he been wanting to run shit if you know he's not qualified and all of that kind of stuff, that has nothing to do with his manhood. Okay, that his manhood is directly tied to your womanhood, which is a sexual thing that has to do with the two of you in an intimate relationship, and all this other extraneous stuff that people be talking about is irrelevant to what it means when a woman says, you know, when they talk about a woman letting her man be a man. Okay, now her third part, she says, you know, I'm unclear about what I'm supposed to do to make that happen, and no one seems to be able to explain it to me. I hope that the examples that I just gave did that. Of course, like I said, I'm glossing over stuff because I have a lot of information to cover. But I hope that gives you a basic, you know, idea of what that means. You know, if he wants to open a door for you, let him do it. Of course, you can open your own door, but so what? I mean, my husband used to put my seatbelt on. Like, I don't know how to put on my seatbelt, but he used to like to do that. He would I put me in the car, right? And he, you know, I smooth my dress, the coat down or whatever. And he'd lean across me, reach over and put in click the seatbelt in, give me a kiss. It was like a little routine. And then he would close the door and go in and get on his side of the car and he would drive. That was our routine. What about that hurt me? How did that make me feel like less of an independent woman? Nothing about that did that. It made me feel cherished and important, like I was so important. He wanted to make sure that I was safe. He put me in the seatbelt to make sure I did it right. You see what I mean? Of course I could do it right. Of course I know how to do it. I mean, I'm driving a car, probably drove more miles than he did in my lifetime. But that's not the point. The point was it made him feel good to do that, and it gave us an extra little moment of intimacy. It made him feel like a man. Okay, he's taking care of his wife. So those are just some of the examples. I hope you think about this and apply it to different situations where you can, and then don't let people guilt trip you into just letting a man run roughshod over you and saying that that's him being a man. No, that's not him being a man. That's him being an idiot. So remember that. The woman letting her man be a man has strictly to do with the relationship between the two of them. That's it. Now let's move on. Let's talk about this question here that also related to the first two. This young lady says, and it was posted under the video about marriage as a bait. Trying to hook. I forgot what the title is exactly, but marriage is carrot on a stick. That's the title. That's the title of the video. All right. So this young lady writes, I'm still waiting on someone to tell me what's so great about a male that I should want or need one. What purpose does a male serve? And I was like, wow. And I have to say that there's a very, very much a generation gap here. Because, I'm in the baby boom. I'm at the very, very tail end of the baby boomer era. And we have a slightly different the men in my age group have a slightly different mentality about taking care of their woman and children than these modern day dudes do. So you girls in your 20s, man, you got it rough. Because these dudes don't want to do nothing. They don't want to do anything, and they want all the benefits. So, as far as how young ladies are being raised versus how young males are being raised these days, there really probably isn't that much to want. They don't have, in general, I mean, there are some, but you got to look at our society. It's greatly changed. The whole structure of our country and our society has changed. And the downside to that is young men are not being raised with the desire to have a wife, to have a family, to provide for that family as a way to get a validation for himself as a man. So they're missing that. They're missing that, and instead of it being something positive for them to acquire and strive to achieve, they instead see it as something to run from, as a negative and a responsibility that they don't want. Whereas girls aren't getting that same message necessarily. So you have half of society desiring commitment and family and connectedness, and the other half running from it. How is that supposed to work? So when you add, so asking this question, what purpose does a male serve in this society? Very little do they serve that will benefit a woman. If you want to have children, though, I am old fashioned in that way, and I really think that children should be had within the confines of marriage. And whether the parents break up later or not, the children are born in a two-family home, and they got the daddy's name and the whole thing, and it's all wonderful and lovely. But I'm serious when you look at the studies that on marriage, and this is worldwide. The marriage as an institution is sinking. Fewer people, even in Asian countries like Japan, where marriage is very much a traditional part of the culture, they are scrambling trying to get young people married to continue the population, because the population even in Japan is falling. I was reading this with astonishment a couple of weeks ago, and so they're going through all kind of things with teaching marriage in colleges and universities, and setting people up on dates and stuff like that to make the young people interact with each other in one-on-one settings to try to boost the marriage rate in Japan. Thought this is just unbelievable. So if you have young women who are very educated, who are striving and achieving things on their own, then you have to look at, what good is a guy going to, what good is he going to bring to her world that she's not already providing for herself? And as a young man, if you're a parent of a son, this is a question that you need to ask yourself, and then you need to socialize your son accordingly. Because if there's no benefit to her being with your son, then what the fuck would she want to be with him for? What is he bringing to her world that's going to better it? And I hate to be so blunt, but that's the bottom line. Girls used to have to get married because that was the only way that they could survive. That option that's not an issue anymore. Women live quite well on their own. They travel the world, they own businesses, they do everything by themselves. They don't need men for that like they used to. So what is it that you guys are going to offer a woman that will make her want to commit to you? I mean, love. Okay, that's good. Love is good. Support, encouragement, romance, children is another one. But I mean, you have to be there for her. You have to be there for them in a way that no one else can be. It's like she can't hire a nanny to give the same kind of love and affection and attention that you're going to give those children. That must be very clear to her. So this is something, for you young ladies to think about. Don't just blindly think because you've been socialized since girlhood to want to be somebody's wife that that's really a goal that you need to strive for. I mean, if you're married, what good is it going to do to you? I mean, you're going to get extra chores. You're going to have a lot of more responsibility. You're going to have somebody that's get on your fucking nerves. You're going to have, drama for his family, all kind of stuff. All kind of stuff happens when you're married. That you really can't get away from. So it's something to really think about. And you just be really hardcore about it. If I align myself with this man, how is what he's offering and what he's got going on and who he is as a person going to benefit me? And if you can't find any answer or is not really high enough on the scale, then you can certainly date him, but you don't need to marry him. Okay? And that's my answer to that question about what purpose does a male serve. If he's not serving no purpose, then I'm with you. What the hell for then? Why would you need one? Why would you want one? There's so many other things to want and so many other things to need in this world. And you got to look at the relationships. I see so many miserable married women and so many happy single ones. Yeah, I mean, it might be a little lonely at times, but married women get lonely too. That is not the exclusive domain of the single. Trust me. And a lot of singles have way more friends and stuff going on than the married women do. Are kind of isolated. Their one main friend is family members or their husband. So this is something to really think about as our society changes. Black women need to change their viewpoint accordingly. Stop thinking that just because your Bible says this and that and blah 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 that's what you have to do. Because if men aren't getting the same message that you're getting, then what's the point? It's just a one-sided thing. You getting the message to be married and all this old commitment and stuff, and no man ain't getting that message. So you sitting up there wanting all this stuff by yourself, you're gonna end up dead alone. So you better figure out how to either make a change or accept the fact that you're gonna be single, or get your behind a passport and go find some man in some foreign country who's got a value system similar to yours. That's my suggestion. Okay, and the last question. This was a doozy. This was posted under the video about women loving thugs, and I didn't make it live because I wanted to hold off and use it as a question in this video. So this young man says, I always wondered what's your opinion about a woman dating a man with a disability. Wait, what? Okay, well, I think what he's saying is he has a disability where he's legally blind and slightly deaf. And a lot of women, he feels, ignore him or just walk past him. I consider myself to be a nice person. I might not be perfect, but I'm nice. But it looks like I'm always looked past, and sometimes it gets frustrating. Even though I do try to build myself up and have more confidence, it's a little hard. So I wonder what's your opinion about a subject like that, since I've never heard that particular subject ever covered. In my first book, written in 2007, called Sucker Free Love, one of the issues I addressed in that book was a man who was disabled. He was in a wheelchair, and he was talking about how how hard it was for him to find a relationship. So I have addressed that, but of course not everyone has read that crazy book. It's on Amazon if you would like to read it. And after I got this question, I came across something on Facebook. Somebody had posted this article, I guess it was linked to a story that had appeared on some news station about a woman who was married to this guy who was like a little doll-sized dude. And she had to push him around in his wheelchair and everything. And in the interview, she was talking about how, she was like sitting him up on the kitchen counter to have a conversation with him while she cooked dinner. He was like a toy. And she's saying how they have like a normal, normal marriage. And I'm like, wait a minute. Your idea of normal and mine is way different, because it ain't normal to be carrying your husband around like he's a little dolly. That just wasn't working for me. But whatever. There's somebody for everybody. In other words, dude. I mean, I mean, it's like this. Okay, you're legally blind, but legally blind doesn't mean that you can't see at all. That's one criteria there. Slightly deaf, so you wear a hearing aid. Big whoop-de-doo. We had hearing problems in my family. Quite a few people wore hearing aids, including my grandmother. And, I mean, it was fine. Sometimes you have to repeat yourself to them a little bit or make sure you talk to them on the side where the hearing aid was so that they could hear you. But other than that, they were just perfectly normal people. And that was, there's a very slight problem that we all learned to overlook and to work with, and it wasn't a big deal. Also, when you're blind, one thing that I think a lot of people forget about is your other senses kind of heighten to make up for that. So sense of touch, sense of smell, sense of taste, and your hearing often gets very sharp as well. And a lot of people who don't see well are extremely sensual. When they touch you, it's like people say they get like shivers down their spine, because this is a person whose whole sense of who you are, their very memories of you, everything that they're creating in their mind and heart about you is coming from that sense of touch. So they're going to touch you differently than a person who's also absorbing the visual impression of you. You see what I mean? They're getting everything just through their hands. So in a situation like this, I'm sure that this young man feels some kind of what's the word? I don't know. He feels some insecurities about his desirability. But I have to tell you, my brother, that's normal. Everybody feels that, no matter how they look. I mean, even the most beautiful supermodels and actors and movie stars and stuff, people have insecurities that they have to deal with. They might be their height, might be some scar they have. They think their nose is too big. I mean, there's so many things that people pick themselves apart about and feel bad about, and they think that it makes them undesirable in the dating world. And I just have to tell you, there's somebody for everybody and a whole bunch of somebodies out there. I don't know enough about the deaf and blind community to provide you with any suggestions, but I'm sure, because I did see where there was they have like social events and stuff. There's a center over here in Oakland, and they have social events, where the people come and they have sighted people with them, and they mix and mingle and talk. And there's a lot of people, just because they're blind, it doesn't mean that they're not extremely bright, articulate, funny, and would love to have a relationship with a gentleman like you. So I would suggest, put some effort into finding out where in your area they might have something like that, and then make sure you go, get you an Uber or a friend to take you or something, and take yourself on over there and start meeting some women. They might be legally blind or whatever themselves, but your goal is to have somebody that you have something in common with, that you can talk to, that you can have sex with, that you can live with, and that you can love. And I think sometimes, you have to adjust your expectations. You might not necessarily get that in the package that you want, but like I said, that's something that we all have to deal with, not just you, not just people with, certain disabilities. Everybody has to make adjustments in what it is they think they want versus what they really need. And this is when a reality check comes in. So those are 4 really interesting questions that came in. If you have some ideas to add to these, feel free to post them down below. I welcome your thoughts and your comments, and you guys feel free to recommend the channel and get some more subscribers. My goal is to hit 10,000 within, say, by February. That would just make me really happy. So do your part, share a link or two, and make sure that you get your friends to subscribe to the channel. Send me some ideas for videos if you have some for 2018, and I look forward to seeing all of you and interacting with you in the coming year. and on beyond that as well. Deb Cooper from survivingdating.com. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next year.